Well, welcome to another episode of the Residential Developer Podcast. I'm the host, Nathan Battishall, and it's good to have Mulisa back from Mosros and Buy and Develop. Good to have you here again, mate, in the studio.
Thank you for the opportunity to be back here, mate.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Well, this is our first time to have you in the studio for 2025, and I thought no better way to have you in than to talk a little bit about 2025 and what you think it holds. For you, 2024 was a good year, and I think a lot of people, it was a tricky year. Obviously, inflation, the economy, interest rates, all that sort of thing. But one thing I love about the model that the niche that you've sort of pushed into is people doing small residential projects in really high profitable areas. I guess in a lot of ways it didn't fully slow down, did it, last year in 2024?
No, it didn't really fully slow down at all, right? But there's a lot of pivoting that had to be done.
Yeah.
Right, a lot of pivoting had to be done. We had to be a little more smarter, a little more creative, and more resourceful.
Yeah.
Right. So you couldn't go through things with the same traditional mindset, right? You'd had to look at ways to make these properties feasible.
Yep.
So, yeah. So it was more difficult for a lot of people, but yeah, if you made the right adjustments at the right time, everyone capitalizes.
Yep.
Yes.
And you had a big December too, I believe. You settled, you exchanged on quite a few properties for clients.
Yes. December was a very busy time. You know,
Yeah.
as I said,
What are we talking? How many properties? What sort of values?
So most of the properties we dealt with in December, most of the values of properties in the $2 million, $2.5 million, and there's a fair few that were in the northern Illawarra, some closer to the south coast, and some closer to the Shire. So there's a lot of value in those areas. Yeah. And Newcastle seems to be coming up as well.
Yep.
But yeah, those areas through Kiama, Northern Wollongong, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
So it was a big month. So you probably needed a couple of weeks over Christmas to regenerate and get pumped up, ready for a big year.
Yeah. Oh, but you know, and I feel like there was just so much momentum from December that it was hard to take time off.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was very hard to take time off. But it's exciting. As I said, this doesn't feel like work to me.
Yeah.
So this is my holiday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. When I go to holiday, that's work for me. So my life is mostly a holiday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Now, what about 2025? Let's. What's that look like for Mulisa? What's it look like for Buy and Develop? What are you seeing this year? What are some of the areas you're already looking at? Into not so much locations, but what are you seeing for this year?
So 2025 year is a very exciting year, right? So there's a lot of big changes we're making, as you brought up, Buy and Develop, right? Which is a scheme where we're implementing a little bit last year, working on it to see how it would work, just for the reason to be able to grow. As we have a lot of people that we need to help, that we had to perfect a system and an infrastructure that can handle the amount of people we can help effectively and very efficiently and in a speedy time, but still with good quality, right? So this year we're growing, right? We're growing. We'll be able to reach more places, right? Much more places of New South Wales, and even much more different kind of developments to the bigger, small apartments, even some subdivisions. But we will be able to cover a lot of area, as we will have a lot of consultants coming on. So just this month now we're signing on about 20 consultants. Next month we'll have about 20 more coming on. So there's a lot of growth coming on.
Yeah.
Right, a lot of growth. So just so we can grow and make sure every client has the attention that they deserve, right? So which were to change the infrastructure. So we have the buy and develop scheme coming up, right? So which will be, it's tied up with Mosros, but this is going to come with a lot of infrastructure where the vendors can easily get in and talk to us and see if their properties can be sold, if their properties can be developed, and also the clients can also get in and see which properties they can buy at a much quicker rate.
Yep.
Right, at a much quicker rate with less time wasted in the middle. Yes.
In terms of projects, from your conversations with people kickstarting the year, is there a trend? Is there a particular type of project people are looking to do? Where are people's heads at?
Okay, so this is what I'm seeing at the moment, which is really this trend started at about October last year, but now it's really starting to set in, right? So a lot of people are starting to see the benefit of, instead of doing the just the straightforward duplexes and so on, they're starting to also implement deals where you can keep the property and build maybe a duplex even next to it, or a triplex, or another dwelling next to it. So these properties obviously are much more rare, much harder to find, but they're there and they work and they're easily profitable, right? Because if we want to do places like the straight ahead duplexes, they have to be done in more premium areas.
Yeah.
And that is only because of the cost of construction. In cheaper areas, the cost of construction is the same price as the duplex you're going to sell. So you have to be more smarter and strategic.
Yep.
On how you purchase. Yes.
Yeah. So location, like anything, isn't it? Location just plays a huge role, which is why you'll go into some suburbs, say in this market, you'll go into, say, lower chip areas, and you'll see no new development because it just doesn't stack up. Or you might see maybe like a volume builder / builder developer who's just trying to cover their builder's margin, but really there's a reason why in the last couple of years, just where we've seen a bit of a dip, some areas just do not stack up.
Yes, and hence why buying properties developed on the market is almost futile these days. To be honest, the properties that can be developed have really shrunk down in number, right? So the chances of finding them by mistake is almost impossible. You have to be intentionally looking for these things. You have to force them into the market, right? And we all understand all properties that can be developed, if they go past a real estate agent, they always call people like us or the other developing parties first, right? So if you sit on the market, it's already been rejected by a lot of people. Right, so these properties are hard. You will need help, right? You will need help, and the way we've implemented this new structure of the business is not just we're giving a service, right? It's a partnership with the client, right? So they can focus on doing what they do best, and we focus on making sure that they have the product they need with the right terms, settlement terms in the right areas, and structured in a particular way that they can make a pipeline of deals, which is something which is almost impossible to do by yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, because the traditional developer, you really just bounce from project to project and hope another good site lands in front of you. And the chances of landing a good on-market site consistently is obviously pretty rare, isn't it?
It's very rare, to the point, you see, if you were to go look at a lot of developments that are getting done right now or just been finished, and just run some feasibilities on how much they purchased and so on, right? You'll see most of them are barely even cutting even profits, you know. So some people, instead of just keeping the money in the bank, they end up just buying something, and they end up just hoping it works.
Yeah.
But where things can go wrong, they always go wrong. So I don't like working with luck. I like to be assured that we'll get results. As what we do takes a lot of work, right? So you want to make sure if you put in this work, you will get a result.
Yep.
Right. So yeah. So this structure is good. We literally become a part of your business.
Yep.
Right. So we all become a part of your business.
Yeah. And look, I think even from my own experience, one of my projects, it's definitely been a tricky selling market.
Mm-hmm.
So we finished the development mid last year. It took quite a while to sell. One of our properties we only just recently sold. So that's been a tricky time. But would you say we're still definitely in that buyer's stage, like for guys acquiring sites at the moment? Because I think for me, that's in my mind at the moment, this is prime time to go and secure development sites. It's a tricky time if you've got a product you need to sell at the moment. Now, I've already seen a bit of a boost into the new year. Late last year was tricky, and like any time, it's really hard to sell in December. Mm-hmm. Even January is tricky.
Yep.
But speaking to a lot of people, I think a lot of people are quite positive about where things are going this year. What have you seen? What have you heard? Just from your research, even, what are you thinking in terms of, is now a great time to go and acquire a site?
Mm-hmm. So now is a perfect time. A perfect time. One thing, I've done a lot of statistics and going through a lot of data, reading just for the past 10 years, just to sort of have a look where we are. It kind of helps you know the future and have assurance on what happens, as history always repeats itself, right? So there's areas that are they've already had too much growth. Yep. Right? There's areas that have had way too much growth, and those are the type of areas I've always tried to avoid, right? And one which people do love, but East Kerbal is not. That's an example. It's not a place that I think is overvalued.
Yeah. And
if we look at its trajectory for the last 10 years, the places grew at about, I believe, about 130% or 140% in the past 10 years. So it's overgrew any other place within the Illawarra region, right? So, and there's nothing next to it at those prices. So those type of areas, they don't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, I kind of just want to stay away from it, right? But from what I see, right, this year, there's a lot of growth that has to be had. And there's a lot. And when property goes up, the market never goes up in small notches, right? Whenever it actually takes those leaps, it's always in 20% leaps, 30% leaps, 40% leaps. As I say, the property market doubles every 10 years, but it doesn't go incrementally. It's always in big leaps. And from what I see this year, we have to fill in some of those gaps. So there's properties that are going to be going up in price, and there's a lot of DAs that have been launched in all those Illawarra areas that will be on the market this year. Those are going to raise the prices. As what really raises the price are new properties. New properties getting built are what raises prices in these areas. So yeah, this year is going to be a marvelous year. I'm happy. I'm expecting marvelous things, but people just shouldn't panic as such when the market goes lower or up. Usually, in general, if you have a look at statistics, this is in general. Some pre-COVID, there's COVID times a little different, but there's pre-COVID and after COVID times. But the market usually goes a little bit lower in those June areas, right? And October areas. December, it goes a little bit lower or higher. January is the same, lower or higher. But with that said, it always goes back up.
Yeah.
So people who are always waiting to buy, I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, to be honest, in the long run. If you have a settlement long enough, that gives you leeway to be able to hold on to a property for, let's say you're trying to sell it in June, the prices are low. You need to make sure that your settlement and your structure gives you enough leeway that you can hold on to the property maybe for another 3 months, because in those 3 months, it would go back up again. It goes up and down, up and down. Yeah. So, but when it comes to big growth this year, it has to happen in a lot of places. It has to.
And I think from your end of the scale, obviously acquisition is at the forefront. So I think acquisition is a great time when things are a little bit flatter. But look, like we always talk about, and I'm a big advocate on this podcast, is when you run clean numbers, when you run numbers that have contingency, you haven't overinflated those numbers. Like even in a lower market, you can still make money. Like I've had clients making terrific money over the last 2 years by getting the right site, the right place, the right time. Even in a flat market, they've made great money because there's still plenty of buyers out there looking for certain products. There's a reason why the first home buyer market or the project market has struggled. That's obviously not a space you and I play in, thank goodness. That's been a tough space, but there's a space out there where it's still thrived even during a flatter market. And that's the beauty, isn't it? By really getting a good understanding of who the demographics are, what markets are thriving, what markets are struggling. Because often we'll use the blanket statement, the market's not good. Now, the reality is there'll always be a market that's not good. But that's where I think people need to learn to diversify. Like you use that word pivot. There's always something out there that is ready to thrive when everything else might be struggling. And I guess, can you speak a little bit into that, like around your mindset around developing a positive mindset when it's doom and gloom and you're reading financial reports or you're hearing people in our industry just speaking doom and gloom? Maybe just speak into your mindset of how you get out of that fog and begin to look for gold when everyone else is seeing garbage.
Okay. So personally for me, let me put that this way. Like I'm never in that fog anyway. Yeah, it's not the way I think. So I do understand when people feel that way, because fear is a strong emotion, right?
Yeah.
It's a very strong emotion, and it's easy to play into it, and it's a very sticky emotion, right? So when you see these things, people go on about, interest rises, the market's going up, down, it's going up. I don't even know what a market is, to be honest. Like there's different markets. I don't know what a property market is. The prices can go up and down from street to street. Let's talk about places, let's say hypothetically Taraji, right? There's four different price points in a place, let's say 4K's radius, if that.
Yeah.
There's about 4 different price points. One of them could be up, one of them could be down. So at the end of the road, it's all about the area. Every area is different, right? If it's not and there's this thing people look at a lot, median numbers and so on. Yeah, you can look at them, but I've never really paid too much attention on that, because all that comes into play, especially when it comes to developing. Median numbers are a little bit different for us because median numbers come from how many sales have happened that month and from what type of properties have been sold. So if only 4 properties were sold on that month and they were cheap properties, it now lowers the median of an area that's expensive, right? But when one new build comes on, now the median is up. So it's more you having to really use your mind and be analytic and being able to tell the value. I think the main thing is you have to do this long enough and research and learn it and love it. Just like riding a bike, it has to be second nature. When you see a value, you know there's value straight away there in that place. But let's say when it comes to some areas, right, you obviously would have to change. You'd have to change strategies, right? If the market's not working well for, let's say, duplexes, you might have to change strategies to townhouses. One other thing is places where they're good for townhouses, but for duplexes they're bad.
Yep.
And there's places that are great for for duplexes, but they're bad for townhouses, vice versa. So you need to know the area you're dealing with. And if you see an area that doesn't work, there's an area that works, right? There's an area that works. So there's always things that work, but your job is to look at something and see how will I make it work, not to have a close mindset and fall in love with one particular idea, right? Some people will be maybe set on just doing a duplex.
Yep.
Right. So if they don't find a place that's where you can do a duplex, they just say the market's dead.
Yep.
But no, you can open your mind up and look at the place and go, what else could we do to this place?
Yep.
Right? Could we keep a property there? Could we put a triplex there? What can we do?
Yep.
Right. So it just really comes with thinking and being investigative and wanting. It's more wanting to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep learning. You keep always being ready to learn. Yeah.
It's good. Well, look, we might finish it there, but maybe you can just throw out what's one gold nugget of inspiration you can send to our listeners who are investors and developers in 2025. What's just something that would be helpful for them in their mindset when it comes to acquiring property?
Okay, so my main thing this year is you have to move with speed, and don't take it too much into the current price or thinking the prices will go down or this and that. And I really do believe any time is a good time to buy. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
So keep an open mind and understand that any time is a good time to buy. You just have to find the good product.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's good. Well, it's good to have you on. We'll make sure we put all the details in the show notes. So look, if you enjoyed this episode, feel free to send some love, write some comments and share it with colleagues, friends, family, anyone you know that enjoys and is passionate about doing developments in investments in residential property. So once again, have a great week.